Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another head-to-head. We've got a big one for you today. It's the T100 versus the ZXI7. So two of the most popular and most played, most talked about players irons of 2025. So we're super excited to see how they stack up. So let's get straight into it. Let's go. Okay guys, so to kick things off, we're going to start with the Srixon ZXI7 in my hands. Got them both set up as similar as I can, 1/2 inch long, standard lie, both around 115 gram stiff shafts in them. So we're just going to hit a few shots with the Srixon, get some numbers, give you some thoughts as well as we go. Nice, good one to kick it off. But yeah, these two irons highly requested to do a head-for-head, and that's understandable. They've been probably the two most talked about irons of this year, to be fair, just with how hyped the release was and the amount of success that Srixon have had, especially on tour. Nice, two good ones to start. So yeah, a few things to note with the Srixon, why it's been so popular. I think it's just got quite a lot of nice features that are quite usable. So one thing I'm a big fan of is there's the VT sole, which we spoke about in other videos, but on irons like this, where you're really sort of cutting through the turf, will feel really, really nice out on the course. Don't notice it as much off the mats, but definitely I think it's something that iron manufacturers from other brands should definitely consider as well. Nice, and then that with the eye forged, a lot of people have talked about it to quite a lot of extent, so I won't go over it a huge amount, but using softer steel and a softer forging process, so all combines just to be quite a nice iron to hit all together. Nice. One thing I would say for this type of iron, the top line is quite chunky, to be honest, as you know, when you compare it to like a T100 or something like that, which for me I quite like. I don't actually mind that, but if you're kind of going into a sort of players club, it's not really what you'd expect to see, but it does feel pretty easy to hit, to be fair. So yeah, for me, I quite like that. I think I quite like it. Cool. Right, we'll do one more. I think that one was just slightly heavy. We'll do one more. There you go, that's better. But yeah, nice quick, sort of 120 plus ball speed is what I normally aim for. Loads and loads of spin, probably a little bit too much, to be honest with you, but it's a slightly lighter shaft than what I'd normally play, but still getting up to like 165, which is the number I like to aim for as well. So yeah, real big fan of the Srixon irons this year, so nice to see them putting up some good numbers again. So we'll jump into the Titleist and have a few swings with that. Okay, so jumping into T100, yeah, like I mentioned with the Srixon, the main difference looking down on it is that top line. It's a much sort of sharper top line with the T100, which for some, you know, if that's what the look you like, then great, but it's a little bit more intimidating than that ZXI7, I must say, but it is a gorgeous iron, but let's see how we go. Sounded good, maybe slightly heavy again. Yeah, a bit heavy. That was better. That was better. Wow, loads of spin, 7,500 spin. Bit spinny for me. I've always been quite a high spin player, so for someone like me, I'd probably spin this a little bit too much, but it's always a good thing to have a little bit excess. It's worth noting as well, I've got both of these at 32 degrees aloft, so I've got the T100 lofted down a degree. But even though it's not like the friendliest looking player's iron, there is a few things that Titleist have put in there to help, you know, average, well, not average, but amateur golfers out a little bit. So you've got variable face thickness, similar to Callaway's 10X face, which just helps with slight off-center hits. And you've also got now the muscle channel from 7-iron to 3-iron, I believe, in T100, just to help out just a touch. Yeah, you can definitely tell, coming from that ZXI7 to this, it's quite a drop in the forgiveness level, which is, I think, is why I've always kind of favoured that T150 personally. There you go, that's a better strike, that's better. So yeah, it's one of those irons where if you're absolutely, you know, flushing it and you're comfortable with it, hitting it near enough out the center, it's going to give you some really great numbers, nice low launch, loads of spin, loads of ball speed for the type of iron that it is, nice carry with loads of stopping power as well. But yeah, it's one that you've got to be kind of on your game to get the numbers out of for sure. But yeah, when you get it, like those last two are pretty good. Does feel great. That one's spun up a touch, but good speed still. Let's do one or two more, and then we'll have a look at some numbers. Nice. Yeah, starting to get a bit more used to it now. You can kind of see at a glance there, these ones maybe just spinning up a touch more than the ZXI7s, which is sort of what you'd expect. It's a nice thing really, we've got the progressive groove design in T100s now, which is basically just optimized grooves. So depending on the iron that you're hitting, the grooves are going to be slightly different. And it's mainly there to help you out in sort of spin retention in the wet or in the rough. So that's quite handy, I do like that. Okay, cool. We'll probably finish on that one. Let's have a look at some numbers and see what we reckon. Okay, so just to give you sort of my overall sort of thoughts before we look into the numbers and everything like that. They both feel really, really great when you strike them. The only thing I'd say that would set them apart for me anyway is when you don't quite catch the T100, you do notice the fall off in the feel and the flight and everything like that, whereas the ZXI7, I felt it was just marginally more forgiving. Even if I didn't quite, you know, flush it, the ball speed was still getting up there in terms of that 120 mark that I like to see. But we'll go into that in the numbers in just a second. But whether that's coming from just that slightly thicker top line in there, just to help with stability across the face a little bit more, could be the factor. But yeah, T100 is a beautiful iron, but like I said before in videos, I think T150 is more sort of suited to me, I'd say. But nevertheless, still a gorgeous iron. But we'll have a look at the numbers now and see what we reckon. So having a quick overview, swinging it at a similar pace, you know, around sort of 92, 91 mile an hour is about sort of normal for me. Srixon's slightly quicker on average, 119 versus 118.7, so half a mile an hour in it. And I think that just comes down to, on the ones that I do kind of miss ever so slightly, like this one here, down at sort of 115 ball speed. We did have one of those with the Srixon, but you see quite a few sort of up at that 120 ball speed mark that I like to see. Launch angle, very similar, you know, around 20 degrees. I've always launched the ball quite high, so I kind of expect to see that. Peak height, T100 getting slightly more peak height over the ZXI7, like 5 feet. but that's probably mainly down to probably the biggest difference between the two, which is the spin. You see, we didn't really get one spin under 7,000 with the T100, whereas with the Srixon we had a couple at like 6.5, a couple just over 7, which gives me an average of 6,789, but a bit more disparity with that one there. We had this one that span a little bit lower, but if you have a look at the standard deviation with T100, that's a really tight standard deviation there, 188. So I guess that's the kind of what you'd expect to see from a T100. Nice sort of tight numbers, very consistent, but you do lose a little bit when you don't quite strike it. What I like about that Srixon, you can see on the carry numbers here, standard deviation at 2.2, it's in and around that like 165 to 160 mark. But with the Titleist, had a couple at like 155, 157, which is maybe just a sign it's a little bit too good for someone like me potentially. But yeah, both lovely irons, both really good numbers, both very competitive. So if you're in that sort of market, definitely worth looking at both, but I think it's mainly just going to come down to the cost difference between them really. So T100s, it's 195 per club. That does include any grips that you like, so you don't pay any extra for grips, which is really quite nice. But the ZXI7, it's 150 a club. That doesn't include any upmarket grips, but you know, you can always do that at a later date if needs be. So over the course of, you know, a 6 or 7 club set, that's quite a big price difference, to be honest, and both very, you know, similar irons, I'd say. So both really good at what they do, but for me, if I was to pick and play one and, you know, buy a set with my own money, I think it would have to be the ZXI7s for me, but it depends on who you are. You know, that's why it's, again, always go back to the importance of getting fitted. Two quite similar irons on paper, same lofts, very similar shafts, but for me anyway, there's a bit of a clear winner there in the one that I'd actually enjoy playing, which would probably be the Srixon personally. So there we go, guys. Thanks for watching another head-to-head on the channel. If you did enjoy it, please remember to like and subscribe, and remember to comment any other head-to-heads or any other club reviews or anything that you'd like to see in the future. And we'll see you guys again very soon.